If I say survival game, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Early access. You'll be hard-pressed to find a survival game that releases in a finished state nowadays. If you're like me and you've grown tired of playing unfinished survival games that languish in early access for years, I've got good news for you. In this video, I'll be sharing a survival game with you that is releasing with a story that can be completed right now, and also has a unique mechanic that I've never experienced in any survival game I've played. Let's take a look at Above Snakes. First things first, I want to thank Crytivo for providing me with a review copy of the game. I also want to mention all videos from the first 30 minutes of the game to avoid spoilers. The only thing I've done up to this point is complete the opening tutorial. As you'll see here, we've spawned into the world, and real quick, we're just going to get right into the unique mechanic this game has. So when you start the game off in Above Snakes, every save you'll start off on Hunter's Rest, which is the little area right here. And what you'll see here is you have a grid-based map. What ends up happening is, and the unique mechanic here is, you can place down world pieces. So let's just do that first. After you complete the tutorial, you'll be able to place down your first world piece. So right here, you'll see we have moderate climate. We have to put a plains down. You can put it in any location, any of these 4 spots. Just has to be next to it. And you'll notice it places down a world tile. As you play through the game, pretty much everything you do is going to fill up this little meter down here. So let's talk about the meters down here in the bottom right. This is going to cover, most of this is standard stuff that you'll see in most survival games, but this first one is going to be a little bit different. So this is the world tile. This basically unlocks world tiles. So if we go over here and just perform an action, every action you perform in the game is going to fill up that tile a little bit. So if we search this bush right here, you're going to notice it's going to slowly start filling up this meter. Once the meter gets filled up completely, you will end up being able to place down a new world tile. And that's the unique mechanic of the game. So as you play through the game, you'll unlock more world tiles by collecting different resources, crafting different things. There's going to be basic ones like this that are plains. There's also going to be some story-related ones that are unique. And there's going to be different environments, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So let's talk about the other things down here in the meter. You're going to have the standard thirst meter, which of course you're going to maintain by drinking liquids. Also, some foods will fill up your thirst. You have the hunger, which you're going to fill by eating foods. Sanity is going to be restored. There are some foods that restore sanity. Your sanity does not drain like the others do. So thirst, hunger, and fatigue will drain as you do activity. So if I start running around here and sprinting, you'll notice I did have a skill pop up there, which we'll talk about. We have fatigue there. Your hunger and thirst will drain. So completing different activities will have a different effect on how much thirst, hunger, and fatigue occur. Sanity only goes down if you are in combat and you harvest a lost soul. So the story of the game, which you would have seen in the opening sequence, which I skipped over, but you'll see it as you jump into the game. This world is basically, I believe it's supposed to be back in like the 1800s or something like that. You play as Ayanna, who is a young girl here, young woman. And basically the world that she lives in was struck by, I believe it was a meteorite. It was a green meteor or asteroid. Hits the planet. I guess it's a meteorite if it hits the planet, right? Hits the planet and it kills most of the people that are in this area. And what happens with the people that are killed, they actually don't end up dying. They actually come back as lost souls, as they call them, essentially zombies. So you'll find them as you're exploring. In the opening tutorial, you'll have seen one of them. And when you loot their body, or you loot any body that's around the world, there'll also be skeletons around the world later on that you'll be finding. When you loot it, your sanity will go down. If your sanity goes completely down, you will basically go temporarily insane. And to restore that, you'll have to sleep. So sleeping and also certain foods can restore your sanity. If your sanity goes all the way down to 0, all of your items in your bar here, everything will just go question mark, so you have no idea like where anything is or whatever, what's in your toolbar down here, your hotbar. So you're gonna want to make sure you manage your sanity as you play through the game. It's honestly not that terribly difficult to manage. And then of course fatigue, you can restore that by sleep, or there's also certain foods and drinks that can also restore your fatigue. And then health, I believe, is obviously self-explanatory. Health can be restored by there's healing items you can craft. And there's also certain foods, some foods will also heal you and restore your health. So that's kind of the gist of like the little things down here. You're gonna notice it says down here we're healthy. It says you lacking nothing, you feel well at the moment, health regenerates over time. So as long as you're healthy, your health will regenerate over time. You can obviously go unhealthy. I'm gonna guess that's below 50%. Honestly, I don't normally spend much time down there. So aside from that, the main mechanic here is the map. So like I said, the tiles here. So everything we're doing is gonna be unlocking them. Of course, you're also going to have your standard harvesting of resources. So we have an axe here. We can chop down bushes. You're going to be crafting that very early on. So we got that. We have a pickaxe that you're going to be able to craft during the tutorial to be able to harvest rocks. Each of these, as in most survival games, you'll be able to upgrade and get upgraded versions of all the tools, which you'll need to harvest tougher resources like stronger trees. So there you can see we quickly unlocked another world tile. So now we'll just place this down, and you can just place this kind of anywhere. So basically the way it works is it's going to have to be touching a tile that matches it. So just because everything is the same here at the beginning, so everything is going to be plains. So we'll just place it down right here next to it. The resources do respawn over time, so that's helpful. So you're never gonna have to worry about running out of things. In addition to being able to chop down things, you can also search. So as I showed earlier, you can search the huckleberry bushes here. You can also search trees, and you can also search, there will be barrels and crates around the map, as well as wood piles. So you want to make sure you search everything because you can get different resources from them than when you cut them down. So of course, in addition to that, you're gonna have building. In the tutorial, it's gonna show you how to build because you're gonna have to rebuild the NPC's house over here. The game does have a complete story, like I mentioned in the intro. So the whole purpose of the game is to get back to the town that you were originally from and find out what happened to your mother, to find out if she's okay or if anything happened to her. So the entire story revolves around that. Completing quests for NPCs, unlocking more tiles. As you unlock more tiles, you'll be able to slowly progress to the different biomes that are in the game. So right now we're in the plains. There's other biomes. I'm not going to spoil them for you. There are over 100 tiles that you can unlock in the game between the unique tiles and the regular tiles you can place at any time. The unique tiles can only be placed once. The regular tiles like this, like as an example, I could place down as many plains tiles as I want, or I can place down others. So we should end up having, let's just do this. And you can get a total of 3 at one time to unlock. So now we're going to go here. Just going to place that down. Oh, so we have to eat some berries. So once we eat the berries, that's going to fill our hunger up. And we're going to return over here. So we're in day 1. You do have a day-night cycle. I never really noticed anything different at nighttime, although I will say in my complete playthrough, I did not spend much time out at night. It's very dark. You can make a torch, but I typically I just go to bed at nighttime or be inside of shelter. So here we're going to get a note. We're going to skip over that because, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. So the next thing that's up is going to be find the survivors camp. And you're going to get quests along the way. We can talk about the crafting real quick. So as is normal in a survival game, you're going to be crafting stuff. So all at the beginning, you're going to be handcrafting stuff here. So you can craft the primitive axe, the primitive pickaxe, and the hammer right off the get-go. And then you'll be able to craft the workbench, which is going to unlock more things. So if we go over here to the workbench, it's going to unlock more things. And you'll see that the workbench is going to have levels. So what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be leveling the workbench up all the way to tier 6, which tier 6 is endgame. So you'll slowly be leveling this up over time as you progress through the game, unlock different things. It also is going to give you a perk. So each level of the workbench gives you perks. You can have up to 6 different perks. You 100% want to make sure you have these activated, and you can change them at any time. So as an example here, we have Fortify. That's going to give me more HP. The Whetstone is going to give me more damage from my waylay weapons. And the Softer Hay is going to give me sanity increases by fatigue and maximum sanity increased by 15. So let's just pick that at the beginning. And what you'll end up finding out is as you progress through the game, you might want to switch these around. So if I know I'm going to go out and do some combat, I'm going to switch to this. Or I might want to switch to this for the extra health. You can use them in different combinations, and all you have to do is go back to any workbench you have, and you can toggle them on and off. And you can have up to 6 active at any time once you progress through the game. So the game is going to have, obviously we have the crafting and the building we've already talked about. It also has cooking, hunting, fishing, farming, and then of course combat. The cooking is obviously going to help you manage your health and hunger, as well as your sanity, and it can also manage your fatigue depending on what you want, which food you're eating. So you're going to go inside of here. Now you can cook pretty much any food can just be cooked, but you also unlock recipes. So if we throw 3 of these berries together at the same time, it's going to unlock our first recipe. That's going to be the Huckleberry Bowl. So we've unlocked the Huckleberry Bowl. You'll notice eating each Huckleberry is only going to give us 5. If you cook them, it's only going to be 5, so no real difference. But putting 3 of them together is going to give you extra hunger, and it's going to give you extra thirst. So as you progress through the game, you probably expect you're going to need different resources. So you'll be getting, as you progress through the game, you'll be getting different resources that you'll be using to unlock more tiles. So what this does is this is a Plains Pine Forest. So when I place this down, it'll allow me to open up the Pine Forest, the beginning of the Pine Forest. Then we'll unlock further tiles beyond that. So I unlock the next building piece, and we're going to see here, we're going to try the Plains Pine Forest. So what you're going to notice here is you have to make sure it's green. So as you can see here, these tiles are all plains. So in order to place down the Pine Forest, what we're going to have to do is rotate it or have it not facing. So the best thing to do here is going to be have it not facing. So if we have it like this, it's going to kind of restrict us. So I kind of just like to have it where it's like that. So by placing it down like that, it'll allow me to just have the Pine Forest over here. I won't have to worry about the plains interfering with it. You can kind of play it however you want. You can also edit the world tiles. So you can actually, if like you don't want this one, you can actually take it away. You just have to use ink. So at any time you can take away the world tiles if you place them down and don't like how they are, or find that it's not going to be possible to complete them. One thing you may or may not have noticed as I've been gathering the resources is my weapons and tools, and my gear specifically also, does not have durability. There's no durability bar. So if you're like me and you really don't want it to have to deal with durability in a game, or don't want it to have to be a major hindrance to yourself, you're going to really enjoy the fact that you don't have to worry about durability at all in Above Snakes. So the combat is pretty basic. It's pretty easy to learn, and what you'll find out is you might prefer the melee, you might prefer ranged. I used both as I played through the game. There's going to be, of course, like the tools, there's going to be different, you can use different weapons. You're going to unlock different weapons as you play through the game. So you have higher tier weapons. You're also going to have gear. So right now, I don't believe I have any gear on. So if we go in here and look at my character, the little t-shirt here, it's going to show you what I currently have on. So right now, I do have a robe on that's level 1. There's going to be armors you can craft. There's also going to be accessories you can craft later on. And then of course, you have your weapon here, and you can have a headpiece. It'll tell you your gear level down here. So the higher this is, the higher your protection is going to be. Your protection is going to be how much armor basically you have. Then, of course, you have your health, thirst, hunger, sanity, and fatigue. Down here, you're going to have melee and range damage, and you're going to have critical chance and critical damage. And then over here, you have some other skills. So you'll notice these are all the skills that are in the game. Everything you do, anything you do, so using the axes for chopping down trees or even in combat is going to level up your axe skill. Using the pickaxe for breaking rocks or mining, also using it for combat is going to upgrade your pickaxe skill. You unlock bows and rifles later on. Buildings, so basically all these will unlock. Sprinting is going to increase your stamina. Then, of course, cooking will increase the cooking. So you're going to want to basically do all these things, right? So it'll just, they're going to give you slight buffs. So that's basically the kind of the overview of Above Snakes. My time, I played through the game. It took me, now I will say this, there's a couple of things. You'll notice it's going to be cold here. So we're going to go out and we're going to go in here and sleep. We want to sleep just to get our sanity back up. So you can sleep here in your bed. So you can sleep at any bed, and then you can also save the game. You can save when you leave the game, so you can save and quit anyway. I normally save periodically. You'll notice that sleeping will drain your hunger and thirst. My complete playthrough, I played through the game. Now, one thing I wanted to mention was, if you die, now, in I played this game in pre-alpha. I was lucky enough to get a copy of it. In pre-alpha, if you died, and actually I think early in the alpha, if you died, you lost the entire map. So the game was originally going to be a survival roguelite. So basically what would happen is, wherever you're, like, you would start at this one tile here. If you died, all these other tiles down you place would disappear. They've removed that for the full release. I'm not sure if they got feedback on it. Maybe they'll add it back in the future as like maybe a separate game mode where you lose the tiles. I thought it kind of added to it because there was basically you would be punished for if you died. In my complete playthrough, it took me approximately 20 hours to do 100% of the story. I didn't die one time. I had 0 crashes and no major bugs or technical issues. So to wrap the video up and help you decide whether or not Above Snakes is worth playing right now, let's take a look at the pros and cons for the game. First up, the biggest pro for me is the game is a complete game. Where you're going to find almost every survival game nowadays, and even in the past several years, comes out in early access, takes years for it to be finished, some of them are never finished. Above Snakes is a complete game at release where you can play through the game from start to finish and just complete it when I have to worry about waiting months or years for the game to be finished. Second up is going to be the unique tile-based exploration. So I've not ever played another game like this where instead of having a static map or even a procedurally generated map, you get to create the map yourself. You unlock tiles as you play through the game, place them down, so you could play through the game 100 times and have 100 different maps as you're playing through it. Next up is going to be a big one for me is going to be there's no durability in the game. So one thing that I really, really dislike in survival games, especially if it's not done right, is where you're being punished for using your weapons, tools, gear, and you're constantly having to repair it. There is no durability in Above Snakes. You never have to worry about repairing your tools, weapons, or gear. Above Snakes also has really good progression. The progression feels super smooth. As you're progressing through the game, you're going to constantly be unlocking new tiles. You're going to be getting new resources, unlocking new cooking recipes, unlocking new tools, weapons, and gear. So as you're playing through, you never feel like you hit a roadblock. You always feel like you're progressing to the next step, and you never feel it just always feels like you're moving along at a good pace. In addition to that, all the systems in the game work really well together, from the hunger, thirst, sanity, fatigue, the health, the cooking, the hunting, everything just kind of feels like it works really well together and it's really well balanced. And then the last pro for me is going to be that you can play the game at your own pace. So if you're just looking for a game to play that's relaxing, you're not being super stressed out, you can just pick up the game, play it for a couple hours, play it for an hour at a time, and just play through it at your own pace without having to worry about rushing through it or having to be stressed out as you're playing through the game. So those are the pros for Above Snakes. Let's take a look at a couple of the cons that I have. Number one is going to be combat. So I didn't really show any combat in the video I just did. You'll experience the basics of combat at the very beginning in the tutorial, which I did not show. And essentially the combat is super basic, right? You can dodge roll and then you can either melee or shoot with a ranged weapon. So the combat's just really, really basic. So if you're looking for a game that has like super hardcore combat, this is not going to be the game for you. And then the second con is going to be, kind of goes along hand in hand with the combat, is basically going to be the game's not really challenging. So as a positive for me is the game's relaxing. So if you're looking for a relaxing game to play, this is a perfect game for you. If you're looking for a challenging survival game, this is not going to be the game for you. It's a story-driven game that you can play at your own pace. Combat's very basic. Like I said, I played through the entire game and did not die one time. So you can avoid death pretty easily without really having to put much effort into it. So the game doesn't really have much challenge. So those are the pros and cons for Above Snakes. I have way more pros than cons, as you can see. So for me, I 100% recommend playing Above Snakes if you like survival games, and if you're just looking for a more relaxing one that you can play at your own pace. It has the unique tile-based exploration. It's a complete game where you can play through the entire game right now, not have to worry about waiting months or years for updates. And you can currently play it on Steam. It does have controller support. While I haven't seen any plans currently right now for it to come to consoles, with the controller support and with the fact that it's not really taxing on my PC, I can see this easily being ported over to all the 3 major consoles if they're interested in doing so. So if the game's successful on Steam, I'm sure there'll be console ports. So let me know if you are going to be playing Above Snakes in the comments down below. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button. And here's another video you might find helpful as well.